Hey guys, I'm sitting here with Adam and Kevin. So basically you DP, and I'm sure you've done a lot of things going up the chain before you were a DP, and you camera operate and DP as well. And again, I'm sure you've interacted and gone up the chain. I say the chain of starting off. Where'd you guys start off first?
Well, I was an editor. I started off editing.
editor.
I had a weird path of getting out of college and working for Apple Computers and working with the developers of Final Cut 7 and kind of doing all that, and then moving to New York and cutting commercials before I got into this. So I have a weird path of the not just like PAing on like an MTV show. That's what you do in New York. It's
right.
like MTV is like the beast, and going up that way.
Mine's almost stranger. So I cut my teeth in Boston. I shot a ton of weddings, tons of corporate stuff, PA'd, gripped, all that stuff, and then came to New York and kind of sunk myself in there.
Really? And so what are some of the interactions a director of photography or camera operator have with the different people on set, like the director, the producers, the AD? What are maybe some of the key people the DP interacts with?
Well, I mean, you're going to interact with the director. You're going to interact with your gaffers and your grips, sound.
What are some of the interactions that the DP has with those people?
Well, I mean, our gaffers, we're going to talk to them about where we want the lights, how we, we'll show them a lighting diagram if we have one. They're going to set up all that. Our grips are going to help us with our dollies and our cameras, and God, I feel like we interact with every single person on the set. I mean, our ACs are building our cameras, and the director's telling us what to do, and we're working with sound to make sure that the boom is not, in our frame, which 90% of the time it is, and you got to yell at them. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, we interact with everybody. Biggest thing I ever learned is just to make sure you thank everybody at the end of the day. I think that's the best lesson I ever learned as a cinematographer, is just make sure you thank your crew, because if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have a production.
Right.
Yeah, I said something similar before. It's all about attitude. If you're happy and you're enjoyable to be around, everything will be okay.
Right. And so has there been a time, and you don't have to answer this, but I'm just kind of curious, where you couldn't deal with someone on the crew?
No.
And, I know, I understand it, but like, just in theory, how would you deal as being a director of photography, maybe with an AD you can stand, or a producer you can, or maybe even a director? Because I've heard maybe sometimes a director can't direct, the DP starts directing, or the AD starts directing and stuff like that. How do you deal with something like that? Do you do it just because you need to do it because it needs to be done, or?
It's a collaborative process, and obviously tempers will flare and people, emotions will run high because you're doing something creative. But it's just really, I would say, you just got to talk it out and figure it out in a civil way. Like, yelling at each other. I've been on sets where I've seen DPs yell at like other people, and it's like, where's that? It's not really getting you anywhere. It's just communication. Open communication, I think, is the key to any production. Also,
they call it a camera team for a reason. So if shit's hitting the fan, the camera team can break off and kind of just discuss things and be like, hey, like, what do we have to do to make this work? Like, how can this actually function?
Yeah.
Awesome. And so when you say so there's like a camera team, and there's like because I know a lot of camera, grip, and electrical are all the below the line, so they're all in the same boat. But when it comes to wrap, I've been on sets where grip and electrical wraps their stuff, or grip wraps their stuff, and electrical wraps their stuff, and they're gone. How do you feel about that? Like, because I know sometimes people stay and help camera wrap up, or camera finishes up and starts helping G&E wrap up.
It's going to depend on the production. A lot of the stuff that I work on is like doc type, like reality type stuff, and it's like smaller narrative films where it's not a lot of crew, so everybody chips in, and I like that. I mean, I'll always chip. We always chip in. We always try to help and just get everybody out of there, because it's not cool to like leave one man behind. You know?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I'll run lights, I'll grab C-stands. It's not like, oh, I'm a camera guy, I'm not going to take this.
Right. No, I mean, I've seen sometimes people do that, and that's great. That's
that mentality is like too old school for my taste. Like, I feel
Agreed.
like it's a collaborative process, and everybody has to chip in to make the best.
See, sounds like there's a change, especially starting maybe with you guys or maybe someone before you, that everyone's collaborative now. That's cool.
Try to be.
Yeah, right.
I think it's a New York thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens in LA too. But the thing, usually it's I'm not gonna try to explain LA. It's complicated.
I also think there's also like the union versus non-union type shoots where I feel like on a non-union shoot, no one really has as defined of role as like a union shoot. That you're electric, you're grip, you're gaffer, it's different.
Yeah, instead you do what needs to be done.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Well, I guess here's a bonus question really quickly. Where's your stance on unions? Do you guys feel like a union is beneficial? Do you think like the SOC or the SOC screen or basically the camera operators or the DGA, do you think unions are effective? Do you think that they help? Or do you think that having something open where people aren't in a union aren't being kind of, you know what, do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
It's a double-edged sword. I honestly say I don't have an answer because there's certain things that the
Right.
unions do great and there's certain things that the unions don't do great.
Right.
So you can't really just say it's not a black and white answer.
right, of course.
You know, I think it's just making sure that you protect yourself and cover your butt, however it is.
Right.
And unions also do protect you, and you don't work crazy hours, and you get breaks, and like all that stuff is great. So there's benefits, there's pros and cons to everything.
Yeah, I'd say there's definitely a place for unions. Personally, I'm not trying to go towards one, and there's plenty of work that doesn't need to be union. So I mean, I don't see a reason to go for it personally.
No, I mean, I've heard a lot of people echo what you've said, where people just they're being driven away from the unions because I've heard once you're union, you got to work union. You can't work on stuff that's not union, or you get penalties and fines. Or
I feel that's
trouble.
changing. I feel that's changing a lot with like micro budget and now with like web and digital distribution. I feel like the unions are going to change to kind of cater to that too, because a web series isn't going to be able to afford union dues,
Right.
but they're going to want those guys because of those,
Because they're good.
yeah, because
Right.
they're good. So I feel you're going to see an evolution in the next within the next 5 years, and I think lines are going to blur a little bit more.
Definitely, or else the unions will lose out.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
You just got to grow and adapt, just like anything else, just like technology, just like everything else.
Of course. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time, for coming in today. Great stuff. Awesome. And the tech stuff and even all the soft skills and stuff like that was great. So thank you guys for coming in.
Thanks for
having
having
us.
us.